Haha, have you finished?
Yes.
I see some people raising their hands. Go ahead, unmute yourself and speak. Okay, Hiba? Mrs. Hibasola.
Yes.
Okay, have you read the passage?
Yes, I read it.
What about the first question? What's our main aim in practicing oral English according to the first paragraph? Before answering,
Yes.
please,
The main
what does,
in
okay,
practice order. Yes.
well, I have to ask you another question before you answer. What does practicing oral English mean? What do we mean by practicing oral English? He means which
In
skill of
Arabic,
the language? Is it reading, writing, speaking, or listening?
right? Reading and speaking. Yes, skill, two skill, reading and speaking.
Oral English. By the way, he means speaking because he means
Listening.
speaking in, okay, just a second. He means speaking in particular. He means speaking because in speaking you use the language and you produce language yourself without reading a text. No, he wants to tell you what is our main aim in getting our students to use the language, to practice speaking, to produce language that is not predictable. No, not to read, not to listen. No, to produce language, to speak orally. He means that. Okay, so go on to answer the question.
The main aim in practicing oral, according to the first paragraph, is advice.
You see that
Advice student.
advising
Yes,
them, advising them to do
advising
what?
them.
Okay,
To do better.
okay. Who has another answer? Do you agree with this? Do you guys agree? I see hands raised, so introduce yourself and speak because I don't see the names. Unmute and introduce yourself and
Yes,
speak.
Miss Mar. Yes, Miss
Uh-huh.
Mar. I think
Uh,
they are practicing a grammar rule only.
in which conversation you mean?
In conversation A, you should, you should, you should.
Oh,
I
okay.
feel.
Okay, I am with you, but um, is this the first question? The first question is what is our main aim, okay, in practicing oral
The
English?
the oral aim is the listening. The students are listening to the teacher, I think.
It's,
Uh, how
I think
come, how, just a second, mister. How come that my main aim in getting my students to speak, when I want them to speak, this means that my aim in this, that I want them to speak, to listen to me. How come I want them to speak, to produce language? So what's my main aim here? Yes,
I
mister, you can go. Yeah, you can
face
go
to
ahead.
face interaction.
You want them to interact in a face-to-face pattern, in a
Yes,
face-to-face way.
yes.
Okay, face-to-face only, that's the main aim. Okay, okay. Oh, all right. I will keep this for now. Do you all agree on this? Do you agree with this? Somebody wants to say something, but just the voice cuts off. Go
Miss Ma,
ahead.
okay.
Yes, Mrs. Amira.
The aim in practicing oral English is to develop learners' ability to communicate freely.
Okay, to communicate really means to provide some kind of real communication. Of course, this is correct. Thank you very much. Yeah, actually, our main aim when I am trying to get my learners to use the language or to speak and produce English is to use the language freely and spontaneously. okay, to speak as a native speaker. Of course, this is my main aim. I want them to speak the language because speaking is difficult and they can't produce the language. So I want them to be accustomed to that. I want them to practice speaking, okay, to produce the language, to express themselves freely and spontaneously in English, to communicate, to have real communication together, okay, not just repeating some structures or that sort, something like that, okay. So this is the question number one. Thank you all. Okay, what about number two? According to conversation B,
Yes,
yeah,
miss.
Mrs. Amira
Miss
has
Samah.
raised her hand. Mrs. Sameh, okay, Mrs. Sameh.
Yes. Uh, According to conversation B, what will the British Council give you? The British Council will give you a list of language schools in Britain where you could go and study, and they will also tell you if there are any ways of getting a grant or a scholarship, and then you could try.
Excellent, correct answer. Thank you very much, Mrs. Sameh. Yeah, according to conversation B, the British Council will give us a lot of language schools where we can go and study, have grants, scholarship, things like this. Okay, what about number three? How many different pieces of advice are there in conversation A? Somebody wants to say something, but the voice is very far.
Three pieces, Mrs. Marwa.
So, yeah, go ahead, Mister.
ما
Three.
permanent. Three pieces
Yes,
of advice.
Mr. Yes, correct answer. Yeah, three pieces of uh, uh, advice. Like you should. That's like this. Okay, thank you very much. So now we will move on to text B. Okay. By the way, it's the whole text is just one very big article or a long essay. Okay, but we have divided it into three parts because if we are having it is actually structured for face-to-face training so that we can together do it like or demonstrate it like jigsaw activity, but we don't have this online, so we are trying to read and answer the questions. Okay, and there was something else which would be very good here, but it didn't work with me, the breakout rooms. The breakout rooms is a feature of Teams, and every time I come to get you into the rooms something happens and it doesn't work. But getting you into the rooms and grouping you online is also beneficial, and it is available on this application which is Teams, getting you and dividing you into groups, 5 participants, for example, in room one, 5 participants in room two, and you together discuss a certain activity and you speak and answer questions, maybe, and that sort of thing. And you come back to the main room or the main meeting we have to have a discussion together and you report your opinions or your agreements that you have come to and that sort of thing. But now that I can't get you into the breakout rooms, so we have to have some kind of choral discussion like this. So we move on text B and read it for 5 more minutes and answer the questions that I will put on the screen. So give me a second to get you the questions, the 3 questions on text B, and I will paste a link of text B, a document of text B if you don't have the book. So you read and you answer the questions before you rise. So give me a second. I'll get it for you. We are not in a hurry. Okay, I'll tell you something which is very important. Now it's 6:30 and we haven't said our prayers. We haven't performed our prayer. We have uh to pray sunset prayer. Just a second because something went wrong here. So actually we will not read text B now. No, I'll delay it. I'll postpone it after the break. And you have 15 minutes. You go now and you come to me at 6:45. 6:45. I mean 6:45 exactly. You say your prayers, you do anything you want, and you come back to me at 6:45. So when will you come back to the meeting again? Assure me that you have the appointment.
Quarter to seven.
Quarter to
Quarter to
seven.
seven.
Yes, we.
All right. So go now and we complete our exercises and activities when we come back, inshallah. Take care till now. Okay. Bye bye.
الاتنين دول. إيقاف تسجيل الفيديو الوارد. قم بوضع كرة انتظار. طب ما هو أنا مش كاتمة الصوت، عاملة مكبر الصوت أهو، أهو جاهز كمان. وفتحت كتم الصوت دي برضو، هنا يكون هم ساعة ما احنا كنا فاتحين وكان في صوت وسمع صوت
أول ما
علينا،
رحت سمحت، بس ساعة ما كنا واقفين
Miss,
سمعت.
Miss, I beg your
ممكن
pardon.
يكون عشان
I beg your pardon, Miss. I beg your pardon. Unmute yourself if you are speaking in private. Okay? We aren't back yet. Don't worry. We aren't back yet. Don't worry. Hey, unmute yourself.
في صوت، في صوت بس بطيء، في صوت بس
Miss, we aren't back. We aren't back. No, don't worry. We aren't back, but we can hear you. Okay? So unmute yourself. Don't worry. We aren't back yet.
طب ما هي جالت لي ميوت، لما اتك على ايه قالت لك ايه؟ لو جالت ميوت يعني الصوت، يعني ميوت يا كاتمت عايزة تكتمي يعني الصوت اللي عندي تعملي فيه
We
ايه؟
can hear you, by the way. We can hear you. We can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you. Your voice is clear. So unmute yourself. Everybody is not back yet, so don't worry.
الأستاذة اللي بتتكلم المايك اللي جنب الكاميرا دي اضغطي عليه كده، هيعمل شرطة هيكتب لك الصوت.
Oh, who is speaking, by the way? Welcome and hello to our session. Who is it?
مستر علي وزيو مس مروه.
Mr. Ali Siddiq?
علي عبد التواب.
Oh, okay, Mr. Ali, our dear colleague. All right, thank you for help. Thank you very much.
Thank you مس مروه.
Okay, so now it's 6:45, so we are back, everybody. Hello, everybody. Everyone is back?
Hello, Miss.
Hello, Miss
Miss.
Marwa, Mr. Yahya, how are you?
Okay, Mr. Yahya, I hear you. Thank you so much. Thank you all. So let's go on to complete our session. Before the break, we were about to read text B, all right, and answer the 3 questions on the slide here if you can see it clearly. So now I'll give you maybe 4 minutes this time, 4 minutes to read the text B and provide us with answers to the 3 questions before you rise. So before you read, I will read the questions with you together, and we have to make sure that you understand the questions first. So number 1, conversation B is probably two people talking in private, face to face, and reacting to one another. How is conversation A described? He describes conversation B, and there is a comparison between the two. So you have to describe conversation A. This is the first question. What about the second question? In conversation A, the attention of the learner, okay, is focused on the language they are using and on getting the grammar right. What is the focus on in conversation B? So conversation A sheds the light on only the language and the grammar, okay, the should function, okay, but what's the focus on in conversation B? So question number 3, conversation A is controlled exercise where the language is completely predictable. The language is predictable in conversation A. It's repeated all the time, nothing new about it, okay? It's not different, whichever speaker says it. How is conversation B different? It is different. So how it is different? In what way? So now you go on to read this text, which is B, and you think of answers to these questions, and you come back to me after 4 minutes. 4 minutes after you have read the text, and we have choral discussion. Way I have pasted for people who don't have the book. I have pasted the link of the document which has text B in the chat box for you. So go to the chat box, you will find it. Okay, click on it or press it, and you will find the text. Read it, think of answers, and come back to me. Now, have you finished? Time is up, so it's time for answering the questions. Have you read this part? Everybody? So let's start discussing the first question. Conversation based, probably two people talking in private, face to face, and reacting to each other. How is conversation A described? Who can tell me?
Okay, Miss.
All right,
Miss Samah.
I
Okay.
know. Go ahead.
I think the conversation is considered as a range of structures. different functions.
Hmm? Okay, he
Mm,
asks you about the way and the pattern of the reaction that's happening in conversation A.
student one ask a question and student B answers these questions in a range of structures.
All right, how
Do
is the
first of
interaction?
all, he said, first of all, you should go and see the British Council. Then step one, step two, step three. Okay.
Okay, thank
Some
you.
structures,
Do
yeah.
you agree? Oh, okay, I agree. Do you agree with your colleague?
It's face to face.
I need
Yes, Miss Marwa.
It's face to face.
face
Hello?
to face. What about conversation A? Hello, mister.
Yes.
Okay, I can hear you.
It's face to face.
Okay,
It's a face to face conversation.
this is in conversation B. He asks you about conversation A.
Yes, Miss Marwa.
Marwa.
So it's not face
Thanks,
to face.
mister. It's not face to face. So what it is? You can tell us what is it?
Marwa, it's a public
Miss Marwa.
station.
As Mrs. Amira said, I heard you. Yeah, it's public. It's in front of the whole class. Okay.
It's
So while
predicted.
conversation,
Oh,
it it's predictable. Conversation A,
predictable
yeah,
response.
yes, I agree that it's predictable. He was just trying to ask you about the kind of interaction. Okay, is it some kind of private or face to face like the conversation B? No, it isn't. It is public, formalized kind of conversation
There is
dominated by
no
the teacher.
chance for conversation.
Uh-huh. Yeah, go ahead if you have something to add.
Yes, there is no chance for conversation to develop. But in conversation, two people contact with face to face and reacting
Mhm.
to each other.
Thank you so much. Is this the answer to question number 1 or question number 3? Mm-hmm.
Question number one.
All right. What you said is, yeah, correct. But here he still asks you about the kind of interaction, the interaction pattern. It's actually not face to face. No, it's not in private. So it's
Yes,
public.
it's
Again,
public.
I'll say it again. It's public. Formalized. Yeah, it's structured the same way every time. Nothing strange, nothing new. Okay, so what about number 2? In conversation A, the attention is paid to structure, the grammar. What's the focus is on in conversation B? Conversation B sheds the light,
Yes,
not,
Marwa.
of course. What is
In
it?
conversation B, he focuses on communication, true communication.
Real communication. What is he concentrating on?
Grammar correctly.
No, it isn't. The grammar, getting the grammar right, this is in conversation A. We are speaking about conversation B.
To respond to him, to answer his questions.
Excellent. To provide an answer, a response, to convey a message to the listener, okay?
Focus on
To
the
convey a
message, not
content.
the grammar.
Excellent. The message, yeah, the message, the content he wants to reply, really, to provide a real reply or response to the speaker. All right. So he reacts to him like providing a real communication. Yeah, very good. So while conversation number 8 focuses on the language and getting the grammar right, the use of should all the time, but conversation B concentrates on the message itself, saying something to the speaker, answering his question, as if in real life situations, real life practice of language. So, what about number three? Conversation is controlled practice or exercise where the language is completely predictable. Yeah, it's known in advance. How is conversation be different? Is it
Okay,
It's
predictable?
not. It's not
okay,
predictable.
miss.
Unpredictable.
Unpredictable.
Unpredictable, yeah. You can't predict it. You can't expect or anticipate what the speaker is going to say next. All right, so you listen carefully to what he's trying to say because you do not know it. Okay, you don't know it. So you are eager and you feel this suspense to know what he is going to say, like exactly like in real communication and conversations. Okay, very good. So let's move on to text number C. I pasted the link. I have to text C if you don't have the book again, as I've just done with the other texts. Okay, give me a second to share the questions and the text itself. If you have the book, just go ahead to read it and you still have the questions in the book. But okay, I have pasted the link. I'll bring you the questions. That takes time, so bear me in that and be patient. I'm about to do it. Here are the questions. If you can see the slide clearly this time, I'll read the questions for you. Does the writer think that traditional grammar practice is a complete waste of time? Why or why not? Number two, how many ways does the writer give of practice that is controlled, but which includes some of the features of real communication? Number three, name two task types that the writer says give learners a purpose for using the language. So you go on to read text C, you will find it on page 19. If you don't have the book, you have the link to the document where the text is on. So just read it. You have 3 minutes only, and you can provide it with answers to these questions. You come back to me, and we have a choral discussion together. Now time is up. Are you ready? Have you
Yes,
read
miss.
this? Okay. What about the first question?
Okay. Miss Samah.
Okay, Mrs. Sameh.
Okay, question number one. Does the writer think that the traditional grammar practice is a complete waste of time? Why? Why not? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The writer say it doesn't mean that traditional grammar practice is a waste of time. On the contrary, it's not a waste of time.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. Yeah,
It's a
correct.
very useful way of practicing the structure should. But this kind of practice alone will not prepare learners very well for real communication in English. They
Excellent.
may
That,
be they may be
mhm.
achieved by giving practice that's controlled, but which also includes some of the features of real communication.
Excellent answer. This is the model answer, actually. Yeah, of course, the traditional grammar practices is something beneficial. No, it's not harmful. It's not a waste of time, a complete waste of time. No, no, it's beneficial. We have to teach them grammar and the use of grammar in context and in role plays and conversations. According to the communicative approach, you can teach grammar by the use of conversations and role play like this. Okay, he just wants you to include or imply some other features of more speaking, real practice, real interaction that is not predictable. Okay, something new, to expect new statements and responses all the time, to react differently. All right, very good, Mrs. Sameh. Thank you very much. Mr. Abdelmenam, I saw you were raising your hand. Go ahead. Question number two.
Question number two. Okay, how many ways does the writer give of practice that is controlled but which includes some of the features of real communication?
Mm-hmm.
Four.
Yes, he is giving four
Yes.
Yes,
examples. Okay, very good, Mr. Abdelmenam. Thank you very much. Yeah, they are four. Can you, okay, number three.
Yes.
Okay, Miss.
How is it? Introduce yourself first
Miss
and
Samah.
speak.
Miss Samah.
Okay, Mrs.
Okay,
Samah, you're okay, okay.
name two task types that the writer says give learners a purpose for using the language. He mentioned discussion, games, problem solving, information gaps.
Excellent. That's it. That's actually the model answer. Yeah. He named in particular, definitely discussion, games, problem solving, information gap activities. And I will explain to you and we discuss together what information gap activities are. Okay, what are examples of them? What's the benefit of gap fill or activities? Okay, thank you very much. That was very helpful and wonderful. So let's move on to another part here. Just give me a second. We're going to get acquainted with an activity which is called running dictation. I have provided you, by the way, I have provided you on the WhatsApp group with videos demonstrating this kind of activity. People who watched the video, can you tell us what running dictation is? Whoever is raising his hand, just put your hand down, lower your hand, and then raise it again if you want to answer my new question. Okay, just give me a second. Think of an answer to the question and prepare yourself first before you speak and raise your hand. What is running dictation? People who have watched the video I've put on the WhatsApp group can explain this very well to us.
yes, Miss Marwa.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Running dictation is the technique where the student work in group
Working groups. Okay.
to dictate the sentence.
Which sentence? Where
Which
is
is
the
the
sentence?
teacher.
Mm-hmm.
There is a runner and the writer in each group.
Uh-huh.
Hmm. I
What does
think
the
it's
runner
a
do?
multi-self. Yes.
What does the runner do and what does the writer do?
Runner runner listen and runner speak and the writer. I think that
Why is he called a runner in the first place? Why is he a runner?
leader.
He can be a leader and a speaker at the desk
Yes.
he's sitting at. Why is he called a runner?
Yes. This involving listening, speaking, reading, and writing for skills.
Okay, Mrs. Heba, thank you very much. I need another volunteer here to add something about this.
Yes,
People who
Miss.
have raised their hands. Okay.
Okay, step number one is the teacher prepares sentence scripts in advance. Okay, after that, in class, she divided the class into two groups. Okay, and each into pairs, really, not groups. Each pair
Mhm.
one a runner and one is the writer. Okay, the student who is running, he should run in the class, try to find the sentence and get back to the writer, and he said it to him.
Excellent. Thank you very much. It seems that you have watched the video. Yeah, this is exactly what happened in the video because this activity has many ways to be done and to be demonstrated. Yeah, this is one way of doing it. Running dictation from its name, it's dictation through running. So maybe you have a text, a reading text, and you provide copies of this text, you hang them on the walls of the classroom. Okay, and you have another text. I'm actually trying to explain another way different from what Mrs. Amira has just explained. Okay, so my way of doing it, or the main way of doing it, is having, for example, a reading passage, different scripts or copies of this reading passage hung on the walls, stuck to the walls of the classroom, and another text of this reading passage having gaps, okay, blanks, spaces that the students have to fill in. So you form groups or even pairs, and one of the each group is the runner. He runs to this script that is hung on the wall of the class, and he tries to find the answer reading some sentences as much as he can, and as quickly as he can, and he comes back to the group running, or he comes back to the pair running. Okay, and trying to dictate them the sentence or the information or what is should be written in the gap, for example. And the writer writes, and they exchange roles. The writer becomes the runner and the runner becomes the writer, and the new runner runs to the board, reads the statement, tries to find the answer, and comes back to the group and tries to dictate the correct answer, or to dictate the sentence as a whole. It's possible also. So in either ways, it's very interesting. This is called running dictation. Why do we teach it's or speak about today such an activity? Why? Because it maximizes speaking, because the runner comes back and discusses or speaks to the group or speaks to the other learner or partner in the pair. So you may form pairs of students. One is the runner, one is the writer. He goes, runs, he runs or walks to the walls of the class or to the board to read some sentence or some text, some paragraph, for example, and he comes back to the group walking or running, or comes back to the pair, the other partner in the pair, and he dictates the correct answer, or he provides him with the answer of the question that he has, or he even dictates the whole sentence like this, and they continue. And the group, which will be the winner, is the one who uh, provides the correct answers very quickly, of course. Okay, this is like a competition because it has running or walking, so it's very interesting. So has any one of you ever tried running dictation in the class with his learners?
No, Miss
Have
Rose.
you? It's new to
No.
you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. Would you promise to try it with your learners because it has a lot of fun? It is fun, and it is also uh, trying to motivate. Yeah, it's a good way to motivate learners to get them to pay
Very good
attention to
and fun.
everything. Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you all watched the video? Because I have the video again if you want to watch. Have you watched the video I put on the WhatsApp
We
group?
we watched it. We watched it.
Eh,
Okay,
Can
how
I
is
add
it different? Okay, Mr. Abdelmanan. Okay.
can I, can I add
What-
something about running meditation, Ms. Marwa?
Yes, you can add, of course. Go ahead.
Mr. Ayman Zain with you.
Mr. Ayman. Hello, Mr. You can go ahead. Okay, of course.
Running dictation gets students out of their seats and engages reading, writing, listening, and speaking skills. Students
Mm-hmm.
can work in pairs or threes. One person is a designated writer, the other partner is the runner. They can only read and speak. When time starts, one runner from each group runs to the front and memorizes as much text as possible. He or she returns to the writer and reports what was read. The writer writes, this continue until the text is complete. After everyone finishes, pass out copies of the text. Students can check their work and do a follow-up activity.
Very good. Thank you very much. That's it. Yeah, that's the activity. And I have to add something myself. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Mr. That has been
Thank,
very helpful. Thank you.
thank.
Yeah, it's like this. Yeah, the strategy itself is like this. And after they finish the activity, you may get them, by the way, you may get them to peer correct to one another in the group, okay? Or peer correct means in pairs to correct, or correct for to one another in pairs, okay? And you monitor and you watch over them, and you at the end provide the correct answer and comment on the mistakes they have made. Okay, it's very helpful in speaking and practicing the language as if in real life situation, because they say statements, they try to understand the text, they dictate one another, and that sort of thing. Okay, so it's gap filling. Yeah, it's gap filling activity where they have to provide the full content or the full kind of information to one another, so um, they are required to speak, okay, naturally, because they have a purpose and an outcome to achieve. And you are the facilitator of everything. You are the monitor here. You are trying to monitor them and provide them with the model answers, maybe, or even elicit the answers. Okay, so yeah, that has been very beneficial. So I have a question for you here. You have actually to read the real script of this paragraph in front of your eyes. I'll give it to you, and you have to answer me one question, which is very important. That would take maybe 2 minutes only. So let me give it to you. Just give me a second. You have to read this: how to inject more speaking inside your classrooms. Here is the text, and you have to answer me this question. By the way, you have the text and the questions in your booklet, in your course book, all right? So have a look at it also. Don't just neglect it because it's important to be following us. So you have to read this and you have to answer me this question. What techniques and activities are suggested in the text? What are the techniques and activities that are suggested in the text and that would inject more speaking into the classroom? How to get them to speak more? What strategies? What techniques that I can use? What kind of activities? You have just 2 minutes, and you also think of the meaning of the title here of the slide, Reading Race. You have to tell me what reading race is. Now, can anybody tell me about the techniques and activities
Okay,
that,
okay, ma'am.
yes?
Yes,
Okay, go
تمام.
ahead. Mrs.
Okay,
Samah, okay.
the two techniques, pair work and group work.
Okay, I agree with you. We have spoken about this from the beginning of the session till now or so far. Thank you very much. Any other volunteers? Any other suggestions?
Discussion and brainstorming also.
Discussion and brainstorming. Is this mentioned here according to the text on the slide?
It is not mentioned, but it is like feedback. It can be equal to brainstorming.
And the answer is correct. Yeah, I accept that. But according to the text, thank you very much, Mister. According to the text, what are these techniques or activities?
Of course, peer work, peer work,
Okay, as our colleague has just
peer
said,
work and
peer.
group work. Yes, of course.
Okay, Mister, thank you very much. Any other ideas or suggestions?
Yes, Miss Marwa. A peer
Uh,
check. Yes,
peer check.
answers.
What do you
Yes.
mean? What do you mean by peer check?
Student uh, can check the answers for each other.
That's it. Very good. Yeah, they can correct the answers to one another. They can check the correct answer to one another. Very good. That's called peer check. This is one thing. What else? Thank you, Mrs. Amira. More participants, more volunteers. Okay, so according to the text, the learners tell each other what they have learned. Okay, for example, at the beginning and end of the lesson, you can get your students or ask them to tell each other in groups or in pairs what they have learned. Okay, or they can tell one another in groups or in pairs something, Allah is great, something personal connected to the topic or lesson, for example. All right, they can peer check, as Mrs. Amira has just said. You can even move a member from each group to another group to check answers. This is one way of getting them to speak more. All right. So yeah, it's very wonderful how you can have alternative techniques all the time for more speaking into the classroom. What is reading race? What's the reading race? It's a race in reading. Can it be like this? From your understanding of the title here? Think a little bit. What's reading race? Is
There
it
is a
like
winner.
there is a winner because it's a race? I agree. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is it like the running dictation?
Like
It's
it.
like a sport to motivate the learners to be engaged,
It's a motivation to the learners to do what?
to be more engaged, to join or to be
Yeah, yeah, it engages them more and integrates them more and
part
involves
to participate.
uh, to participate in what way? Somebody is trying to say something. I guess it's a female participant. Thank you very much, Mister. It's a race in reading, maybe having the scripts on the wall again, and they run to the wall because it's a race. They are in groups or in pairs, and they run to the wall there or the whiteboard, and they come back to groups. They run and read some of the text, find the answers of some questions. They come back to the groups or the pairs and dictate or discuss the correct answer to the questions that are there that the groups have. For example, this is called reading grace, and it's again like running dictation. You can use it, by the way, inside your class. So please try it and come back to me to the WhatsApp group and tell me how it went. What went right, what went wrong. Okay. Yeah, it's exciting to attract them. Yes, Mr. Abdul Manam. It makes more exciting to the learners because it's race again. Who will finish first? Who will provide the correct answers first? Who will walk or run back again? It's like dictation. It's again like dictation, but if they don't dictate, they may provide answers to some questions. All right, they have another task, but it's again a race in reading and understanding and speaking and discussion and that sort of thing. What's your role as a teacher? What you will be doing? You will be sleeping aside in a corner of the class or doing what?
Encouraging them.
Okay, you are of course all the time encouraging them, but you have something else to do here. Monitor, that's the word. Excellent. I see it in the chat box. Monitor. Mr. Abdelmanem said monitor. Yes, and supervisor. You supervise, you monitor. You take notes. Okay, you have a paper and a pen and you take notes, the writing the mistakes that they have done, something good they are doing to stress and to focus on and to consolidate, to reinforce positively maybe. And at the end of the activity you may get them to peer check, to peer correct, and maybe you may elicit answers, elicit the correct answers. You may get one partner or one learner from this group to another group to share information together and to peer check again and that sort of thing. This is again another version of the running dictation, which is called reading race. Yeah, correct their mistakes after finishing. Thank you, Mrs. Samah. Yeah, correct. Yeah, as you have written in the chat box. So now the coming phase or the coming step here in our session today is that you will be exposed to or open to some activities that promote speaking inside the class, and you will read about them uh, or even provide a demonstration to them. You have to plan for them. You have to tell me how will you demonstrate these activities inside your classrooms. If you are planning for a certain activity, a certain speaking activity, how will you plan for it? What are the steps? What steps will you do before the speaking activity itself? the pre-speaking activity. What will you do during speaking activity? And what is your role after the speaking activity? So you and the learners together, what's the pre-stage, the pre-activity stage, and what's the during activity stage, and what's the post activity stage? So let's move on to another activity, discussing it together and trying to prepare for it, how to plan for the activity itself, because we have, I guess, 8 activities that promote speaking inside the classroom. Allah is great. Just give me a second here. I will show you the